Hey everyone, I'm Big John, and welcome to another episode of the Diz Ability Show live. This week, coming to you from my condo at Sunday River. Alright, this week I want to talk about rainy day tips. Now, of course, in Florida, there are going to be a rainy day or two, especially in the summer. Now, if there's thunder, the outdoor rides won't be running. Also, it's a good idea to plan accordingly with the weather. Make sure you have an umbrella in your backpack along with some raincoats, and if you're my mom, at least 50 ponchos. And also a good idea to make sure that you are in a secure location. And when it does get super stormy, either like in an indoor building and in the parks or at your hotel, that way you you are safe from all the craziness going on outside. So always make sure you're ready for a rainy day at the parks. So anyway, that's my tip. As always, if you have any questions on how to do Disney for people with disabilities, let me know in the comment chat if you're watching this live, or in the comments if you're watching this later, and I'll make sure it gets into a future episode. And now it's time for this week's Top 5. So, Disneyland doesn't have a lot of thrill rides, but the ones they have are amazing. So this week, we're going to cover my top 5 thrill rides at Disneyland. Number 5, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Now this used to be their version of Tower of Terror, where you got the Guardians trapped inside the Collector's Fortress and they're trying to escape. Well, Rocket escapes and tries to get everyone else out. And we're going to talk more about that ride coming up in Diz or Dat, so stay tuned for more talk about that. All right, number 4, the Matterhorn, which of course was Disneyland's very first roller coaster. Now, it's wonderful. It has gone through some changes over the years. Like 10 years ago during the 60th, they added a new Yeti to the ride. And it's still a fun coaster, especially with that little lake of water at the end acting as a braking system. It's fun. Number 3, the Star Tours, the adventures continue. Now, if you've been with this channel a long time, you know that we love doing videos of Star Tours because they are always completely different. And it's great because my dad and I like to do predictions of either we're going to do the prequel or the sequels, and if so, which scenes from which, because it's almost unpredictable, and that's what makes it one of my favorite rides. Number 2, Space Mountain. Now, I've discussed this in the past. Disneyland's version of Space Mountain is much better than the Walt Disney World version because of more seating on the ride vehicles, and it goes almost more smoothly than the one in Florida. And I think That's another reason why it's better in Disneyland. And my number one thrill ride at the Disneyland Resort, Radiator Springs Racers. Now, I've said this in the past, it's like their version of Test Track, and it's awesome because I love cars and I love racing. And if you put that in a ride, you got me hooked. And it's one of the best rides at Disney's California Adventure besides Soarin'. But I still like it. I still love it. Can't wait to ride it next month. And and it's great. It really makes you feel like you are in the world of cars as a human. So anyway, let me know in the chat or in the comments what your favorite thrill ride is at Disneyland. And now it is time for Diz or Dat. Now, going back to talking about Guardians, because on both coasts, you will find a Guardians ride. At Disney's California Adventure, it's, as I said, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which used to be their Tower of Terror. And it's the same ride system, but with an even better story. And at Epcot, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which, as I have mentioned before, it is Epcot's very first roller coaster. But I only rode once because it made me feel a little, yeah. So anyway, let me know in the chat or in the comments which Guardians ride you prefer. Diz, Mission Breakout, or Dat, Cosmic Rewind. And now it's trivia time. So last week, we asked, how old is Crush in Finding Nemo? One of our new friends, analyst, gave us the correct answer, 150 and still getting young. Congrats if you knew the answer at home as well. So now here is this week's trivia time question. What is the name of the prince in Sleeping Beauty? I'd be the first one in the chat or in the comments with the correct answer, and you will receive 100 cool points. Now, it is officially March, which means it is time for the first round of our March Madness tournament. 16 attractions, 4 from each park, as always, are competing. And you can vote in the chat or in the comments. And if you're a member of the Disney Vlog Squad group on Facebook, you can vote there as well. All right, so here are the matchups in round 1 of this year's March Madness tournament. First up, we have Tron Light Cycle Run versus Dinosaur. So on one side, you have a recently opened amazing new e-ticket thrill ride at the Magic Kingdom that people are lining up to do. And on the other side, you got a ride that is appropriately going to be going extinct in the next year. So this is like the sticking around against leaving soon. In our next matchup, we got Spaceship Earth taking on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Now, on one side, you have a nice, cozy little dark ride, riding your way through the history of communication. And on the other side, you have a crazy, action-packed adventure trying to escape a First Order Star Destroyer. So that's pretty much the relaxing space versus the crazy space, pretty much. All right, our next matchup, it's the Haunted Mansion taking on Expedition Everest. Now, on one side, you got the famous, or rather infamous, mansion with 999 happy haunts. And on the other side, you have the Forbidden Mountain, home of the Yeti. So this is pretty much the mythical creatures matchup. All right, next up, we have a coaster clash. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind taking on Slinky Dog Dash. Now, on one side, we have, as I just mentioned, Epcot's very first roller coaster, where you try to get the cosmic generator back from, as Drax would say, that unusually large man. And on the other side, you have a crazy, super fun coaster that zooms around Andy's backyard. So like I said, this is pretty much the coaster clash of round one of this year's tournament. In our next matchup, we have the Seven Dwarves Mine Train taking on our reigning champion from last year's March Madness, Kilimanjaro Safari. Now, on one side, you are exploring the Seven Dwarves Mine, where a million diamonds shine. And on the other side, you're on an authentic African safari, and you never know what animals you're going to see. So this is the exploration clash, pretty much. All right, next we have Soarin' Around the World taking on the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Now, on one side, you are flying over some of the world's most amazing landmarks on a hang glider. And on the other side, you are on a crazy elevator that takes you into the Twilight Zone. I don't really have one for this. I'm going to say, like, this is the, like, the no gravity matchup. All right, next up, we have Pirates of the Caribbean taking on Avatar Flight of Passage. Now, on one side, you are going back in time to when pirates plagued the seas, with Captain Jack Sparrow, of course. And on the other side, you are riding what I've said before in the past, Soarin' on steroids, where you ride a banshee through the planet of Pandora. I have no name for this matchup, I'm sorry. And finally, we have our final matchup in round one is a 3D throwdown with Remy's Ratatouille Adventure taking on Toy Story Mania. Now, on one side, you are roaming through Gusto's kitchen helping Remy. And on the other side, you are doing perhaps the most, taking on the hybrid video game thrill ride that people come to love with your favorite Toy Story characters. Like I said, this is the 3D Throwdown. Those are the matchups for this year. You can vote in the chat or in the comments. And if you're a member of the Disney Vlog Squad group on Facebook, you can vote there as well. Voting ends this coming Thursday. And in these matchups, if there is a tie, I am the tiebreaker. So anyway, that's our show. As I said, if you have any questions on how to do Disney for people with disabilities, let me know in the chat if you're watching this live, or in the comments if you're watching this later, and I'll make sure it gets into a future episode. For this week's shoutouts, make sure you guys check out Nate, aka Page Mr. Morrow. He does great vlogs from the parks all the time. Definitely check him out. Also, make sure you guys check out my buddy Beth over at Beth's Disney Adventures. She is going to be going live this Tuesday from Port Orleans French Quarter for their Mardi Gras parade at 9:30 a.m. So definitely stay tuned for that. Also, make sure you guys check out my friends Jessica and Lewis. They post great Disney content on their Instagram. Definitely check them out. Also, make sure you guys check out Maria over at LBV TV. She does great vlogs and live streams from the parks all the time. Definitely check her out as well. If you have not subscribed here yet to the Big John Network, what in the Walt Disney World are you waiting for? And ding the bell for notifications so you never miss a second of the fun. And until next time, Aharini.